If you want to learn how to buy apartment complexes without using any of your own money and pocketing tax-free money, this video is for you. I'm not talking about something hypothetical. I'm talking about something that I have done several times. I'm going to go over a case study of how I bought a 12-unit apartment complex without using a dime of my own money and pocketed $178,000 of tax-free money. I'm going to break down the story of how I got the deal and how I bought it. Then I'm going to talk about the plan that I put into place to make it all happen. And then we're going to talk about how it all ended up and how I almost doubled the value of the apartment complex in less than 3 years. And the best part is, this is nothing special. This is a framework that I have been working on over the past several years that I put into place a few years ago and now have repeated several times. So this is something that you can do. So make sure to pay attention, get a notepad out, and let's rock this. The year was 2019, and I was looking at some apartment complexes, but it was a very competitive space. I wanted to add several doors at one time, which is one of the benefits of buying an apartment complex. Buying 12 single-family houses one at a time is a lot of work. Buying one 12-unit, while it's a lot of work, is not near as big of a lift. So I was looking around in the St. Louis metro area, and I seemed to keep getting outbid on apartment complexes because people that had connections with brokers or with owners were getting them snagged up first, or everybody was bidding on them and I didn't want to overpay. So I decided to expand my search a little bit. I was initially looking at about a 30-mile radius from St. Louis on the Missouri side to try and find an apartment complex because that's where most of my other properties were. At the time, I probably had a few dozen single-family rental properties and a couple apartment complexes that I had purchased over the few years prior that kind of helped me make this exact framework I want to give to you. So I expanded the radius out a little bit and caught a town called Troy, Missouri, which isn't really that far out. It's technically probably in the suburbs-ish of St. Louis. It's about 45 minutes from St. Louis, but only about 20 minutes from where I live in Wentzville, Missouri. It is a town that has been growing. In 2000, it had a population of a whopping 7,000 people. And of course, we're talking about just the little city, not the entire surrounding areas, but of about 7,000 people. Right now, it's got a population of around 15,000 people. So that's nothing crazy, but it has doubled in population and people are tending to move out there more as they get further away from the city and as more highways and overpasses make their way out west. People can get to St. Louis a little bit faster, get to their jobs, and live a little bit cheaper out west. So the property was actually listed on the MLS. It was initially listed for $750,000, and when it was listed, I wasn't even looking out there, so I didn't see it. However, it came across my plate when the agent did a $25,000 price drop. So I saw that it was listed now for $725,000. I talked to my business partner, Lucas, about it, and we said, let's try to get this thing for $700,000 or less. I remember specifically upstairs in the guest bedroom at my house that I used to live at, talking to the agent on speaker and negotiating. My wife was downstairs putting our daughter down for bed, so I wanted to not have her hear me. So I was upstairs on speaker pacing around the guest bed. I think I offered $650,000. We went back and forth, tried to settle in the middle, and I ended up getting it under contract for $682,000. So I believe that I got a pretty good deal, and I had some built-in equity when we bought and closed on the property, which of course makes things a lot easier. All right, here's how we funded the deal. We got an 80% loan from a small local bank that was actually in the area. I probably had 10 or 15 rental properties with them prior, and they had one of my apartment complexes as well. So it was a pretty easy sell for them. They like lending in that area and growing populations. So they gave me an 80% loan on that $682,000 or a $545,000-ish loan. If you can do the math, that was about $135,000-ish that I needed for the 20% down from the private lender. After looking at the property, I saw that it needed some work, especially on the exterior for us to execute our plan. So I ended up getting another $50,000 from that private lender. So I got a total of $135,000 plus $50,000, $185,000 loan from a private lender for the 20% down plus improvements, and that $546,000-ish loan from the bank to completely fund the deal with none of my own money. All right, let's go over the plan that I formulated over the past few multifamily deals that we did that were pretty good, but this one we really absolutely crushed and executed. Here's the plan that you can take and do the same with. The first part of the plan was bringing in professional in-house management. We manage our own properties, we do it in-house, so we're able to bring in that professional touch that all tenants want. We're able to add technology so that tenants can pay online on a credit card, with an ACH payment, with a debit card. We sent tenants all a letter introducing ourselves, giving them our background, telling them we're from the area, we're real people, we're going to take care of them, we're going to make the place safer, we're going to make the place better, and we're going to make it easier for them to pay and get maintenance issues taken care of. Now, this is huge because I'm able to actually decrease my expenses while taking better care of the tenants, utilizing my in-house management and utilizing technology. This is a very, very pivotal part of the plan because multifamily properties are based on the income that they produce. They're not like single family rentals. They're not based on the market and what the market is doing and what houses sell for in the area. They're based on how much income that you bring in. So if I'm able to take care of tenants while decreasing expenses, that not only puts more money into my bank account, it also increases the value of the building very, very quickly. So that was part one of the plan. Part two was to improve the property so that I could charge more rent. I don't know the exact number of each unit, but I know we were getting on average of about $650 per door on each of the 12 units. Market rent was closer to $850. So I couldn't snap my fingers and do that, but if I took all 12 units and got another $200 per door, that would have added $2,400 of an additional income on top of the income the property was getting, which would have increased the value of the building a few $100,000 like that. Now, that's obviously not how it can go with people having their current leases in place and not wanting to screw everybody over and charge $200 more per rent. So we initiated our plan to improve the building. We did an overlay seal on the parking lot. It was in pretty rough shape. So simply doing that, making it a nice blacktop with new stripes, really added to the exterior of the building. We redid some of the landscaping, cut back some trees, made it look really nice. And one of the bigger things we did was this property was very close to a gas station and a lot of people walked up and down the sidewalk. People would just cut through the parking lot and go to the gas station. While it's not the end of the world, just a lot of foot traffic in there is annoying. People throwing their trash in either the trash cans in front of our apartment or on the actual ground and maybe hanging out in between cars or sitting on the backs of cars. It was just a little bit of a mess. It's a good area, but not a great area. So what we did was we put a fence around the exterior of the parking lot, which made people go around the parking lot and onto the actual sidewalk and then to the gas station. So just those types of things, tenants really appreciated. They appreciated that. They appreciated the fact that we made the place nicer, put in some new security systems, and just generally took better care of them on their maintenance requests. All right, now let's move on to step 3 of the plan, and that was to increase rent strategically. So when tenants' leases were up, we would give them the option of going up to $750 per month without us touching their unit. So we didn't have to touch the unit and we were able to get $100 more rent. Now we showed them comparable rents to see that they could go, if they wanted to somewhere else, but it was gonna be $850 to $900 a month. So we were being reasonable. We were increasing our net income without having to really do anything besides everything else we already did. And a lot of tenants took advantage of that. Some tenants did not, and they left, and that was fine. We were able to spruce up those units through any leftover money in that extra $50K that our private lender gave us or cash flow that we had been collecting and increase the net income quickly that way. The other thing we did is if tenants didn't pay, of course, which happens when you take over properties like this, we were able to get them out and we were able to spruce up the units and get those closer to that $850 because it was a brand new tenant. So when tenants left, either through eviction or on their own, we were able to get those units closer to that $850, which really increased the value of the building. All right, on to the refinance where this all tied together. I'm going to go over what the property actually ended up appraising for just 2.5 years later, show you how we paid everybody back, and explain how the numbers broke down. So based on all the things I explained to you, just a little over 2 years later, the property appraised for $1,110,000. So it didn't double in value, but it got damn near close in a little over 2 years. Now, funny quick story about about this is we plan to go to a national lender on the refinance and did a 30-year mortgage to allow us to cash flow even more, even on a higher principal amount. We were, of course, increasing our new principal payment by taking money out. I'll explain those numbers here briefly. However, we were going to do a 30-year mortgage at, I think, around 4.5% to 5% with a national lender. Well, if you know what happened in like 21, 22 timeframe, you know interest rates absolutely skyrocketed, and the day before closing, they told us that they could still fund the deal, but it was going to be like a 6.5% interest rate. And we said, no, thank you. This is why we have relationships with small local banks. So we went to one of our small local banks, got better terms than that over 25 years, and we were able to cash flow very similarly to what we were cash flowing now, getting a little bit better terms and still taking a lot of money out. So the property appraised for $1.110 million. We got a new 80% cash out refinance loan from the small local bank. 80% of that number is $888,000. We then paid back the original loan from the bank, which had been paid down now to about $475,000. We paid back our private lender their initial $185,000, plus about a $50,000 kicker, because of course they wanted to make interest on their money. Now, quick side note, we had been paying them about 5% of cash flow every single month so that they were making a little bit of money along the way. But when we gave them their $185,000 principal back, we did that $50,000 kicker to get them to about a 12% annualized return over the time they had their money out with us. So if you're doing the math, that left us with $178,000 of tax-free money. You see, it's debt. It's a cash out refinance, and taking on debt is not a taxable event. So we were able to bring in $178,000 of extra money. They really helped us out at the time. I believe we ended up taking that money and paying off a couple single family houses, pulling out lines of credit on those houses and utilizing them in our business to grow even more. You see, it's all about properly leveraging debt to pair it with real estate and then to use that equity to grow and scale. It's what all businesses do at some fundamental level. I just do with apartments and single family rentals because it's easier to understand than starting a whole new business, and you can do it too. Not all of our apartment complexes have worked out this perfectly, but it can be done and you can do it too. It's all about having a plan, buying properly, and executing that plan while taking care of your tenants, and of course having banking relationship. If you want to learn more about how to do this, make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button. I release content like this all the time on this channel. And if you want to learn even more, check out this video over here. See you on the next one.